What's up, everybody? It's me, Stevie, Supersmallchibiwolf, Supersmallchibiwolf, and today I'm going to be talking about overrated games that I had hope for. These are the games which I have played many times, and let me just explain real quick. Usually when I buy a game, or, say someone has a game and then I try it out, usually I would try out that game multiple times throughout the months and, to try to get an idea, a good feel, because I don't want to just play it once and then done, unless it's really a game that's okay. I've been through this again. I know this series or I know this company. Then that's when it's like, okay, it's the same copy paste thing. This type of game, franchise, or company. So yeah, but usually when I try out these games on this list, these are the games which I heard a lot about throughout the years. So I decided, you know what, I'm gonna try it out. And I tried it out in different types of methods, whether it's emulation or the real copy later on. And I'm like, you know what? It still didn't hit, you know what I mean? So just wanted to explain all that. So with all that being that, let's get into this. First game I want to talk about is Mario Kart 7. Mario Kart 7 is, I feel like Mario Kart 7 to Mario Kart 8 and 8 Deluxe is basically comparing Wii U to Switch, where it started out wonderful, like the ideas are there, but it wasn't really, in my opinion, displayed properly. While a game after, a console after, they really perfected it, well, inspired by what came before it. So that's how I would explain it. So Mario Kart 7, I could see, I don't know, it's just, like, I'm not saying it's like the worst game of all time, you know what I mean? But it's a game that I feel like just, I could go back and play like the GameCube version, the Nintendo, even the Wii U, or, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, you know what I mean? And I could have a fun time, you know what I mean? But Mario Kart 7, similar to Super Circuit, those two games just didn't hit. And in my opinion, although they, 7 specifically has wonderful ideas that was way better, shown off later on, I feel like that game overall, it just didn't get to me. And that's unfortunate because I had high hopes for it. Next is Next is Pokemon X. I feel like when it comes down to it, I was never when I play Pokemon, right, I could see there's charm within the mainline games. Don't get me wrong, but I personally prefer the party games over the mainline games. I'm talking about like Pokemon Puzzle League, Pokemon Stadium games, Pokemon Snap, you get what I'm saying. So first off, I'm into those more than the actual mainline games, but the mainline games, they are a great amount that I love, Red, Ruby, etc. But Pokemon X just didn't get it to me, it didn't like hit for me, and one big reason why I even tried it, well, two reasons. Number one, I remember seeing it in the TV, the commercials when it was brand new or coming or, about to be released. So that also affected me buying it. And also, I hear you get a bike early on, so I was like, yeah, sure. So yeah, but Pokemon X. I feel like if it got a remake on the Nintendo Switch 2, I would give it a try again. Maybe, it hits. I don't know, but I would say this. Pokemon X. I've given it. Like I said, I've given it a good, I think, 2 months. On and off. And this was when I was still collecting retro games and playing and all that, So it was like I would play that alongside other games, which, usually I'm good at persisting. I could be like, say, I'm playing like Splatoon, leveling up while trying to beat a PS4 game at the time, around that, late 2010s. And, it's not like, a lot of people, when I tell them this, they would say, oh, you didn't give it your full attention. You were like going back and forth. No, man, when I was playing, like, say, Switch and PS4 games, hey man, it was going wonderful, you know what I mean? No issue there. It's just that Pokemon X just didn't hit for me, and it's unfortunate because I had high hopes. Next two games, I'm going to combine these two, these are Nintendo 64 games. The only Nintendo 64 games on this list are these two, Banjo-Kazooie, Conker's Bad Fur Day. Long story short, collectathons, I feel like PS1 really dominated than 64 when it comes down to collectathons overall, like seeing how many games released on there. But when we go on to talk about specifics and all that, I feel like N64 games were a little bit more creative in a specific category. I would say the cutesy type, while PS1 had more of like the hardcore gamer type, you know. So it's not that I hate this genre. I loved it. You know, a lot of people felt burned out back then, but I feel like they're wonderful. But these two games, I kept hearing it so many times throughout the years, and I finally tried it out, and it just didn't hit. And that's unfortunate because Rare is a company that really made amazing games. You know, GoldenEye, Diddy Kong Racing, the two, perfection. Yeah. Next is Crazy Racers. This is a racing game made by Konami, and it has a Goemon and other games, like game characters. And it was, you know, I was excited because I was like, okay, this is a racing game for the Game Boy Advance SP, and I was like, yo, this is amazing. I'm excited. This is cool. Then one day I went to the game store and I actually played it because, long story short, you know, I tend to have good connections. You know, I go to a game store, we talk, we have fun. They let me try out games. Really cool people. You know, I tend to have that luck, I guess you could say. So I tried out the game and it just did not hit. I was like, okay, I played fun racing games, then I played this game, and it did not hit, and that was unfortunate because I had high hopes. I was like, yo, there's Goemon in these characters. Of course, I'm going to be excited and be like, yo, let's do this. But no, it died out. The excitement once I started playing it. Next is Rocket Knight Adventure. This is what you get. Rocket Knight Adventure is basically if you have Mega Man X, Sonic the Hedgehog, Metroid, and try to shed it out, something out of those three. I do not like this. You know, it kind of feels like weird. You know what I mean? Like you're like this anthropomorphic animal. I don't fucking know, humanoid animal, and like you know, like similar to Sonic, but you have these powers similar to Samus Aran's like, and Crash, and it's just weird. You know, I feel like this game is a gimmick type game, and I just didn't like it. You know, I didn't appreciate it. And I feel like when it comes down to these types of games, I prefer Sonic the Hedgehog or Crash Bandicoot. You know, they're just way cooler. And also, I would also put Mega Man X, you know, type Metroid, you know, that type also. Would put those games as a comparison. Moving on from that, Final Fantasy 15. Oh man, Final Fantasy 15. This is an interesting one. I was excited. I played the demo, fell in love with it. I watched Kingsglaive, which came out before this game. I love the movie. This is when I could say the anime movie outshines the actual game. Yo, Kingsglaive is perfection of a gaming anime movie. You know, like, wow. Okay, but the actual game, it's basically Mario Party. I think it was 9, which basically you're stuck in a car and you get the shit without that car. It sucked, dude. And I don't know, man. It just, like the boy band aspect, you know, it was somewhat funny, you know, in a comedic way. Okay, fine. You got this like type of boy band type cast, you know, and you know, my favorite things are two things, you know. Iris Best Girl, and then you had Luna Freya, which was amazing. Those two girls were amazing. Also Cindy, because you know, man, if you know, you know. PlayStation VR of Final Fantasy 15. If you know, you know that trailer. Okay, that's all I'm saying. Go search it up. You'll thank me later. And wow, man, I don't know about the final, but the fantasy was all there in that trailer. But long story short, this game had high hopes. I had high hopes for it after that demo, and unfortunately it died out. And I heard Final Fantasy 16 isn't the best, so the course of Final Fantasy continues, unfortunately. I haven't played it. I've seen gameplay. I think I'm good. You know, I just hope that Final Fantasy 17 is something unique. I don't know. But moving on from that, if any game is really heartbreaking, you know, to really be like, oh man, I had high hopes, this would be it. Final Fantasy 15, man. Now next is Grim Guardians Demon Purge for the PS5. So this is a Metroidvania, like they say, you know. So you like go around, you could exchange the characters between one that has a sword or a gun that shoots fast. It was fun and interesting, but I feel like this is more like a arcade type game more than a Metroid type game. Metroid type game, I feel like, or Castlevania, I would go around, play some of the story, you know, give it a break, save file, move on. This more feels like it would succeed more as not a story game, but more as like a rail shooter type, like you go around shooting through the room. Next, you know what I mean? I just feel like as like a Castlevania Metroid type game, this one just did not hit for me. And I give it a chance, like I said, you know, come back and forth throughout the weeks. Eventually, I just said, okay, I'm selling this. Boom, put the money towards another game. Next game is Cinderella the Echo of Ada. Talk about a game that really fucking was advertised the wrong way. This game looked amazing. I thought it was going to be a mecha fucking fighting game. I am disappointed. Yes, I am pissed off because I had high hopes. I thought this was going to be a mecha game where we all come together, fight, have fun. But no, it was not. It was boring. And I hated it. The only good things were the waifus and the designs. Besides that, next, Parasite Eve 1, 2, and 3. Yes. What happens when you try to mix Final Fantasy and Resident Evil? Or at least this is what it felt like. And it just did not hit either. These games were... I hear the anime is amazing though. No, not anime. Live action version. So I need to check that out when I have time. But, yo. This... They try to do something unique. And unfortunately it didn't hit. I feel like if this was a... Like, Square Enix did... You know, had like the... gameplay mechanics of a Final Fantasy game, it would have been way better, and I would have been like, okay, more into it. But it just didn't hit for me, you know. And I really was excited, but then you know what? Yeah, and then as the story gone, I don't know. I just move on from that. I don't want to degrade this game too bad. You know what I mean? Mario Kart World. I think I talked about this a lot in the past around the release of this game this year. But let me just say, just to cut off short and I'll repeat what I said back then, I did not enjoy it that much. It looks ugly like the movie, and long story short, it's not that fun. It loses interest and made me run back to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Moving on from that, Spyro games. Now, don't get me wrong, I love Spyro. You know, he's cool, wonderful, classic. But I don't know, man. Nostalgia's a bitch. Sometimes, you know, I could go back and just speedrun Crash all day long, nonstop. But then when it came back to Spyro, his bro, it just didn't hit, man. I feel like to be fair, I tried out the remake. Maybe it was the remake's fault. That's just a fucking... But I feel like, you know, Crash, you know, always outdid him. But... yeah, I'll leave that there. I still love Spyro, you know, wonderful dragon. Too bad they fucked him up with Skylanders and Activision and all. Moving on from that, Ultraman on Super Nintendo. This was, I felt like I've been done dirty. You know what I mean? They did me dirty because I feel like when it comes down to it, yo, it was like, yo, everyone's talking about, Ultraman, this game's cool. And then, you know, some people, you know, were hating it. I didn't hear a lot about this game too, but from the people I did hear about this game, they hyped it up. And I was like, dude, I finally played it. It was slow, janky, and one of the worst Super Nintendo games I ever played. Killer Instinct on Super Nintendo is next. As a fighting game, yeah, this is a classic. Don't get me wrong, but come on, man. Tekken, Street Fighter, King of Fighters, you know, Mortal Kombat, name the fighting game, Super Smash Bros, etc. They all outdone the King of Fighters throughout decades. I feel like, you know, when it came down to it, because I was trying to play, I was like, you know what? I saw it on Super Nintendo, someone was giving it for really cheap, and I was like, okay, fine, I'll buy it. Boom. Let's see how it does this time around, you know what I mean? And yeah, my opinion still didn't change. So yeah, next is Street Fighter 6. Long story short, just no. I'd rather play Killer Instinct on Super Nintendo. Let's just say that. And Ultraman more. You know what I mean? So I think that's self-explanation right there. Next, Ninja Gaiden Collection. I feel like the Ninja Gaiden games, I'm more a fan of the, spin-offs, which is, I believe, yeah, Dead or Alive is the spin-off of Ninja Gaiden, I believe, because it has Ryu, Hayabusa. So yeah. I'm more of a Dead or Alive fan, so there's where my love of Ninja Gaiden type relies. But Ninja Gaiden games, I feel like this Master Collection on PS4 was... why do companies get lazy? They had so much potential, but unfortunately they kind of feel janky, slowish, sluggish, like something's holding me back. Like, say you were trying to play and jump in a jello-filled world. I don't know, it just... it just felt weird. Not even PS3 games and it felt this weird and mechanic wise. And I went back to play some PS3 games to conform this, and yes, PS3 games play better than this PS4 game. It's unfortunate, and there's no excuse. It really isn't, and that pisses me off because I'm a fan of Ninja Gaiden, like the character and all the lore and all that, you know, and Dead or Alive and stuff. So moving on from that, here we are in the last one. And I saved this one for okay, no, there's two more. You know what? Let me jump to Harvest Moon. I was going to put Harvest Moon last, but no. Harvest Moon. The only, in fact, you know what? Persona 3, Persona 4, Persona 5 Royale, and Harvest Moon. You know what? All of them have something in common. A fucking day and night system. A time system or something. Now, I don't know if the Super Nintendo game has it, but I think the N64 game when I was playing, yeah, it did have something like that. But it all relates to the same thing. Let's jump to Persona, okay? How are you? It's a JRPG. When I play a JRPG, I like to mess around, fight a lot of enemies, level up as much as possible early on, and beat the shit out of anyone who comes so I can enjoy the gameplay and have fun and discover and, you know, talk to the NPCs in the game. You know, Final Fantasy, you know, I thought it was going to be like Final Fantasy. I'm sorry, okay? As a Final Fantasy fan coming to Persona, it just killed me. But I didn't walk away, you know, just like whatever. Yo, I do love the waifus. You already know Chie, Mitsuru, Sakura, Futaba, and all the other ones. But those are like the best skills of their respected games. You know, that's just fact. You know what I mean? Like Fuka comes close, but hey, yo, you know. But I feel like when it comes down to the Persona games, I will give them a try. You know, now that I have the idea of how the hell this works, then I would give this challenge another try because gaming challenges are wonderful, and I'm excited to see what's next. So yeah, with all that being that, I'm gonna end it here. Let me know in the comments what you think, and yeah, let's have a chat. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and until next time, bye.